All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, February 13th. We got 11 games on the NBA slate. Very excited about that. Hope you guys did enjoy the Super Bowl yesterday. Luckily for us, we did make some coin. If you watched our Super Bowl video, we swept the Super Bowl. So I am pretty excited to jump into this NBA slate. Now, it wasn't all good yesterday. We had one final play in the NBA. It was the under in the Detroit and Toronto game. That did not hit. So our NBA streak comes to an end, but let's get back onto the winning side. We got a bunch of games to choose from today. We're going to jump into each and every game in this video like we always do, guys. But my final plays that I'm actually going to be rolling with will be in the pinned comment. I cannot say that enough. I always tell you guys, check the pinned comment. I update it throughout the day with what I'm actually going to be rolling with. If you guys want to ride with me, or if you want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comments, so make sure to check that out. But we're going to go through and give our lean on each and every game. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and let's jump into this first game. We got Charlotte taking on the Hawks here. Charlotte 5-point dogs on their own floor. Total sitting at 240 right now. Last time these two teams played was late January. Charlotte actually won this game as 7.5-point dogs. 122 to 118, and that was when Atlanta was at home. Charlotte is home here. They did play earlier in the year as well, mid-December, and Atlanta won as 2.5-point dogs, 125 to 106. So already you have two games, and I think they played three times. But the last two games they've played, the dog wins this game. In terms of injuries, a lot of injuries on Atlanta to be aware of here. John Collins, questionable. Bogdanovich, questionable. Trae Young, probable. Bruno Fernando, questionable. I think they just acquired him. Garrison Matthews, questionable here for Charlotte. Reggie Jackson, not playing. Kelly Oubre, obviously still out. And Cody Martin downgraded to out. In their last 10 games here, Charlotte hasn't been playing well whatsoever. They're 3-7 against the spread. They're 2-8 straight up. And this Atlanta team actually turning it around. It seems 6-4 against the spread in their last 10 games here. On the road, 4-3 against the spread in their last 7. We call them the Atlanta Pigeons when they're on the road, but they've been playing well on the road here. I'm going to lean towards Atlanta minus the points here. Do I wish this was like 4.5? Maybe. Yeah, but I'm going to go with Atlanta here minus the 4.5. And I do like the under a lot in this game. Yes, they have obviously played a couple times. First game, 118 to 122, so that one exactly hits this line here. The other game was 125 to 106, so they've come very close to that. But even earlier in the year here, 126 to 109, they're really, really close, but they haven't yet to hit that over 240 mark. So I'm going to go with the under in this one, as well as the Atlanta Hawks here, -5. Make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment, guys. That was where you'll see if this is a final play that I'm going to be rolling with or not. Moving on, we got the Cavs taking on the Spurs here. Cavs 14.5-point favorites, total 224 right here in this one. They played in mid-December. Cavs actually lost this game. They were 9.5-point favorites, lost 112 to 111. In their last 10 games, however, they're 8-2 against the spread. They're 4-1 in their last 5 at home, and we know this Spurs team is terrible, right? 0-10 against the spread in their last 10 games. In fact, they're 0-10 straight up, which I guess against the spread is even worse because they're getting crazy spread lines here. I think you have to lean Cleveland. I doubt this becomes a final play. That spread is just way too high for me, so I'm probably sticking away from this game, but I think I have to lean Cleveland. I cannot bet on the Spurs right now, but I doubt that becomes a final play. That's just me being honest. And then in terms of a total, even though 224.5 seems super doable, I am going to slightly lean towards the under in this game. All right, we got Indiana hosting Utah here. Indiana getting 1 point at home. Total 238 right now. I'll tell you right off the bat, this is a game where I see a lot of the betting money on the over, and I rarely would go against the money, I guess, but I do like the under in this game. I think this one could slow down and be a little bit sloppy, so my first lean in this game is going to be the under here. In their last 10 games, Indiana is 4-6 against the spread, same thing as Utah. Neither one of these teams playing all that well, but I would say they both have actually had a pretty tough strength of schedule throughout the last 10 games here. Utah, Russell Westbrook is questionable in this one, and then for Indiana, Miles Turner is questionable, and Tyrese Halliburton is questionable. If those two guys are a go, I'm going to be leaning towards Indiana here, actually getting the point at home, and like I said, the under. If neither one of those guys are a go, I don't think it makes me flip to the Utah side of things. I probably just punt this game away. George Hill also coming back here. He is questionable as well. So if we get the guys to play on Indiana, I think I lean that way, but if they don't play, or one of those guys, like if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't play, I probably stick away from this game. I probably still like the under, honestly, so the under really doesn't change in terms of lean, but it's going to come down to injuries to see if I want to roll with Indiana. All right, we got the Sixers taking on the Rockets. Sixers 14-point favorites, total 225.5. I would say the Rockets and I was gonna say the Rockets and Houston. The Rockets and the Spurs are the two teams right now that are just auto fade for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm picking the opposite side, but it means I'm not even considering taking their side of things here. This Rockets team, yes, they're getting big numbers. I think they're like 4-3 against the spread in their last 7 games or something. So I get that they're actually kind of competing with teams, but that's because of the big number. They've had so many double-digit spreads in their last 5 games, so I'm probably sticking away from the spread in this game because I think 14 is way too much to lay if you're Philly. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments. You guys could say, no, you kidding me? That's either too much, so the Rockets should take it, or Philly's going to whip them easily. I don't think so. I think this game, you know, it could go both ways. I could see the Rockets kind of giving up, but then also keeping it close like they have. They played Brooklyn the other night and lost by like 5 points, or won the game by 5 points, or something like that. So this Rockets team, Philly. Brooklyn with a, wow, I just lost my train of thought. Brooklyn with a absolute, like, you know, like who's playing for Brooklyn type of thing. Philly wins the game by 5 points or something like that. But I will say that 14 points scares me if you are on the Philly side of things. So let me know in the comments if you guys are crazy enough to pull the trigger on that. My play in this game, which I actually lean, would be the under 225.5. But you can probably tell I don't really love this game. Like, I don't think that the Rockets are 14 points worse than the Sixers, but I don't think the Sixers are 14 points better than the Rockets. Mind stump. All right, moving on here, guys. We've got to get out of that game because I felt like I was in a sewer. New York taking on the Nets here. Knicks 2.5-point favorites. Total sitting at 221 here. Last time these two teams played was late January, and Brooklyn won 122-115. But again, when we look at this, I guess, revisionist history and whatnot, Brooklyn is a way different team back then. In their last 10, though, they are 7-3 against the spread. 1-1 in their last 2 on the road. 2.5 points. Doesn't seem like it's all that much. New York's coming off of a win against Utah. They're coming off a loss to Philly. They did play well for a majority of that game, then kind of the wheels fell off here. I'm going to lean New York in this one until we can totally vet out what we're getting from the Nets, I guess, and what type of team they're going to be. I don't think that I'm going to back them. We covered the other night with Philly, the game that I was talking about in the previous game, and I'm glad we did that. But I will say that we're leaning New York here, minus 2.5 points. In terms of the total, 221, I think this one goes over. I could see this game totally being like a 228-ish game. I don't know if it gets the 230 mark, just by what I'm crunching and whatnot over here. But I do see the Knicks being able to score, you know, 110, 115, 125, right in that sort of area there. And if they do that, I think this game ends up going over. A couple buckets fall our way. All right, we got the Heat taking on the Nuggets here. Heat 1-point favorites, total 220.5 right now. Last time these two teams played was December 30th, and the Nuggets won 125-119. They're 4-point favorites in that game, so they do cash that. In their last 10 games here, they're 6-4 against the spread. For Miami, they're 3-7 against the spread, and at home, they're 1-4 in their last 5 against the spread. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, both questionable in this one. Kyle Lowry still out. Bam Adebayo is probable. Tyler Hero is questionable for Miami here. I'm going to lean Denver plus the 1 point here. I think that Miami obviously wants to get things back on track. They probably feel pretty crappy, but I do think Denver is just by far the better team here, so we're taking a chance with that. And then in terms of the total, 220.5, just a little too low for me. I know this Miami team has had plenty of games that are in like the 90s and whatnot. In fact, I think that they're, either last game or the game before, they had like a 90-97 game or something like that. So I'm going to lean towards the over, even though that Miami team truly has been cashing unders lately. But this Denver team has been letting up 110 plus and scoring 110 plus like you read about. So we're going the over there. I'm really trusting Denver sets the pace of the game, wins the game, and then also helps us with that pace, like I said. All right, guys, before we get into the rest of the slate, I do want to say that the ride of the day is back. Hashtag ride of the day. The OGs know what it is. Ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I'll be jumping on board with one person's play in the pinned comment, or not in the pinned comment, in the comments, and then you guys will get a shout out in the next video. I'll throw up a screenshot of your pick, win or loss. If you win, you get the applause that you just heard from the soundboard. If you lose, you got to face the womp womp, which you guys will understand what it is if you're new, if you do end up not cashing there. But hashtag ride of the day, give me a play, guys, give me an absolute lock, and I'll be shouting you guys out if I do decide to jump on board with it. And I do also want to talk to you guys about my bookie here, guys. My bookie, I'm always saying, go out there and get more and more sports books, guys. My bookie, super easy to use. They have a bunch of different features over there, so consider heading over there using the promo code GBS to get a % match on your first deposit. Let's get going back into this here. We have the Bulls taking on the Magic. Magic here, 5-point dogs on the road, total 225.5. In their last 10 games here, the Magic 6-4 against the spread. Now, that's a little bit different than they were. They're like 8-2 against the spread at one point, playing really well. But what really intrigues me here about this line and about this game, the Magic, 4-1 in their last 5 games against the spread when on the road. It hasn't been the easiest of competition. So I am keeping my eye on Orlando there, but I do still think Chicago probably ends up being the play here. I might be crazy because this Orlando team is covering left and right, or at least I should say, when you don't think Orlando's going to cover, all of a sudden they go out there and cover. So I'm trusting my gut and rolling with Chicago in this one. But not many of the analytics or the numbers would actually say that that is the play. So I'm using my gut, heart, and belly for this pick and going with Chicago -5. Most of the numbers actually say that this one probably should be an Orlando lean, if I'm being honest. But guys, in terms of a total 225.5, I'm going with the under in that one as well. All right, New Orleans traveling to OKC. OKC 3-point favorites here, total of 237. These guys last played in December here. New Orleans won 128 to 125. They also played in November. New Orleans won 105 to 101. Those are the last 2 times these two teams played this season. OKC 6-4 against spread in their last 10 games. And then New Orleans 4-5 against the spread in their last 10. 4-5-1, against spread. And they also have not covered a game on the road in their last 3 games here. I like the over in this one, even though it is a really, really high number. And I'm also going to be rolling with OKC. CJ McCollum is questionable. Josh Richardson, who they just acquired, is questionable for New Orleans. And then for OKC, no major injuries to note here. OKC has covered 2 straight games, covered 3 of their last 4 games. They're playing a little bit better basketball here than the Pelicans, even though the Pelicans are starting to get a little bit healthy, even with CJ McCollum injured. I am still going to lean OKC here, minus the points. I don't love them as favorites, I'm being honest, but I'm going to lean OKC and the over, even though that over is super high. All right, 3 games left on the slate. We got the Mavericks taking on the Timberwolves. Mavs 8-point favorites, 232 is the total. These two teams played in late December. Obviously way different for both teams, their roster. Dallas won that game 104 to 99. However, in their last 10 games here, this Dallas team honestly kind of surprised me. 5-4-1 against spread, but not at home. 0-2-1 in the last 3 games at home here. Minnesota 6-4 against spread. You have 2 teams that have puzzled me as of late. And I hope you guys you can appreciate, if I'm being honest, about when a team's been puzzling me and I don't have a good beat on the team, right? Both these teams kind of fall into that category for me right now. In terms of injuries here, looks like there's no major injuries. Tim Hardaway Jr. is questionable in this one for Dallas, but Luka and Kyrie look like they're good to go. And then for Minnesota, Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson are both questionable, so make sure to keep an eye on that. In terms of my lean, I'm going to go with Minnesota plus the 8 points. I think it's a little bit too much to give. I wouldn't be surprised Dallas wins this game, maybe by 4, 5, 6 points, something like that, but I do think 8 points is a lot to give. And then in terms of a total, I'm also going to go over. So 2 overs. You guys know I probably like unders more than overs, but those are 2 not numbers that I do think the pace of play gets above this, and we cash those. So 232 over there. All right, moving on to Washington taking on Golden State. Golden State 3.5-point favorites, total 233.5. In terms of injuries, Golden State here, Steph Curry still out, Andrew Wiggins questionable, Gary Payton questionable, and then Andre Iguodala is downgraded to out. Washington, Kyle Kuzma is questionable. This Washington team actually playing pretty well, 7-3 against spread in their last 10 games. On the road, 4-1 in their last 5. And for Golden State here at home, 2-4 in the last 6 against the spread. So call me crazy. Call me crazy. We're leaning Washington plus 3.5 points. Total is 233.5. We're going with the under in that game as well. All right, Portland taking on the Lakers here. Portland 2-point favorites. Total is standing at 237.5. These 2 teams played late January. Lakers won that one 121 to 112. LeBron James is questionable, and Mo Bamba is probable here, the new Laker. For Portland, there's a lot of injuries to note. Jeremy Grant is still out. Yusuf Nurkic still out here. Kevin Knox, new guy in town. Matisse Thybulle, new guy in town. Both questionable in this game. The Lakers, I mean, any given night, they can win whatever game they want to win, it seems. They've beat good teams and they've lost to bad teams. I don't really see where and when they decide that they want to play basketball, but what I will say is that this Portland team kind of falls into a similar category for me as well. There's nights where this Portland team actually looks very, very good. And I understand they have plenty of injuries and trade and deals and stuff like that to deal with here. But with that said, I do think that if you have 2 teams that kind of go up and down and decide when they want to play, I'm going to go with what team has a star-studded cast. And I know Portland has plenty of talent, but AD and LeBron James, I think, get this one done tonight. I'm going to lean the Lakers here, getting points on the road. And that 237.5, I think this game goes under. Probably sticking right around the 230 mark. So that is going to be my lean in that game, guys. And that is going to conclude the video. Hope you guys do enjoy it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. keep the hate comments coming. You guys think like it's like gonna get to me or make me quit doing this or something? No, I'll stay on my heater and continue to win money while you guys hate comment and comment other channels. You know who you are talking about that. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.